If they want me gone, if they tired of winning, they can send me on the way, because that's all we've done is win. So if they tired of winning, we've won this league 8 out of the last 10 years. Is that not good? I'm just asking. Is that good? I don't know if that's good or not. To win your league 8 out of 10 years, to go to the playoffs 7 out of 10 years, to be in 4 national championships, win it twice. Yeah, we're a little down right now. Take your shots, but I got a long memory.
That was part of Dabo Swinney's media availability nearly an hour after their loss to Georgia Tech that knocked Clemson out of the rankings. A reminder that this was a team that a lot of people talked about being a national championship contender, and the odds to make the college football playoff were reflective of that, 61% to start the year. But with each week and each loss, including the one that was close to LSU, but that Georgia Tech loss there put them down to 4.8%. They were 17.5-point favorites against Syracuse at home. What could go wrong on a Saturday afternoon? Well, let's go to Memorial Stadium to show you exactly how it all played out on this September Saturday. Ranked 4th in the preseason poll, the unranked for the first time since 2014 when they also had a 1-2 start. Clemson already down by 10. Steve Angeli to Will Nixon. Nowhere close to a first down, but there's a flag on the play. Targeting would be called on Will Helt. Dabo unhappy with that result later in the drive from just outside the red zone. Angeli to Darrell Gillen Jr. for the 22-yard touchdown, and the fan can't believe it, hands on his head. Then came the weather, delayed for an hour and a half because of lightning, just delayed the inevitable. Mid-third quarter, Orange up double digits, but boy, this is not good. Angeli, non-contact leg injury. Concerning moment for the Notre Dame transfer. Needed help getting off the field. Syracuse would punt. Could Clemson take advantage? Well, there was a fumble. Adam Randall had it. Antoine Delorier knocked it out. And here comes the backup Ricky Collins, trying to put things away. First play off the fumble. Justice Ross Simmons there for the catch. Worth another look. It was close. But Syracuse wins this one 34-21. It's Clemson's largest home loss versus an AP unranked team under Dabo Swinney. And they start the season 1-3 or worse for the first time since 2004. So forget that 17.5-point spread. Orange wins straight up. They cash that money line ticket, and the over of 53 and a hook cashes. It's just in. It's final in Death Valley, where Syracuse upsets Clemson at their place. Ricky Collins in for the injured Steve Angeli. 18-yard touchdown to Justice Rose Simmons. Angeli had left the game with a non-contact injury, leg variety. And Syracuse comes in and wins 34-21. It's Clemson's largest home loss since 2013. They've also trailed in this game, obviously, by 10 or more points for the third consecutive game. Hadn't done that since 2012. And for Clemson, they came into this one as 17.5-point favorites over the Orange. I'm Tommy Trent, back here with Shehan Jeyarajah and Bud Elliott to break down this game, which a lot of people are saying surprising, not surprising, shocking. But how do you characterize this latest Clemson loss?
Relative to where Clemson is supposed to be every year, it's obviously shocking. Relative to what we've seen out of them this year, it's not quite as shocking because, I mean, Tommy, for the last 3 weeks, they've just been going through the motions. Make it 4. I mean, these guys are just not playing hard, committed football. You know, as a Florida State guy, I saw that team check out in Tallahassee last year. That's what it looks like for Clemson. Like, they know they're out of the natty race for the most part. They look done. I don't see these guys playing hard. I don't see them playing like committed, caring football.
Shehan?
Yeah, I really echo a lot of that. I mean, this is a team that coming into the year was one of the most talented rosters that we've seen in college football, and they just have not played up to that potential. And in this Syracuse game, this was the first one where it really felt like this team is quitting in so many ways. It's not just the guys in some of the spots where you've had issues like running back, offensive line. It's the secondary getting obliterated. It's the defensive line not playing very well. It's these position groups where we know there are future NFL players, but they aren't playing up to that potential. And to be sitting here at 1-3 with the amount of talent that this team has is frankly astonishing.
We're taking a look at those largest home losses, and I referenced how bad of a loss this is for Dabo Swinney and Clemson. Again, your guys' thoughts on, we're supposed to see a bounce-back effort from this team, right? Given what happened against Georgia Tech on the road in Atlanta, the way it ended, fans storming the field at Bobby Dodd, Bud. But again, what did it show you about the effort or the discipline or the execution that was shown or not shown today?
They look checked out to me. I just don't see Clemson playing hard. Like typically Dabo Swinney teams, they play hard. They do. It's hair on fire defense. It's skill guys who are making crisp cuts. They're getting the ball. They're making plays after the catch. And I'm just not seeing that from Clemson this year. I mean, guys, they still have Florida State. They still have Louisville. They still have South Carolina. They still have Boston College, which can pitch it around like a little bit. I mean, they probably be favored over BC, but like BC could even beat these guys. They look done.
Yeah. No, and I think that that's the big thing about it, right? Is like they just don't seem to have very many advantages over other teams with the way that they're playing right now. This is just a team that, again, they had to throw the ball 60 times in this game because they weren't able to physically bully a Syracuse team that they should just frankly be better than from a talent perspective. So very, very disappointing effort. And like Bud said, I don't know where they even go from here.
Let me throw a couple things at you here. They were top 5 shortest odds to win the national championship at 9-1. This graphic shows that they were a 61% chance team to make it to the college football playoff. And obviously, with every week that's gone by, they're now down to 0.01. But can you remember a time that a national championship contending team has got off to such a disappointing start?
I mean, Michigan App State, certainly, about 20 years ago now. It is pretty remarkable that this was supposed to be the year. Clemson, as Shehan mentioned, has so many future draft picks on this roster. A lot of these guys are done, and Clemson recruits well, but it's not like they've been killing quarterback recruiting. I don't know who's up next for them there. I don't know if they have the guys to replace 3 or 4 NFL draft picks on the defensive line. That's a super veteran offensive line. This looks like a rebuild coming for the Clemson Tigers, and they don't really use the transfer portal all that much either. So, if this was supposed to be it's a flop of epic proportions.
And a lot of it, in terms of the optimism, and the expectation was because of Cade Klubnik. How much blame does he deserve, or do you point that to somewhere else in the Clemson program, Shehan?
Well, expectations were off the charts for Cade Klubnik. There's no question about it. He was talked about as a potential first-round pick, maybe even #1 overall pick. And look, I thought that talk was a little high. But he hasn't done his part. There's no question about it. You see him missing some of these easy throws. You see him not throwing guys open. You see him having issues reading the field. That's real. That's real, and that's on Cade Klubnik. But I also think that the context around him has just collapsed to such a degree. I mean, you talk about this running game. Now, Adam Randall has a decent game this week, but the first 3 weeks of the year, they haven't been able to run the ball either. They're not defending at a high level. That's the one thing that we've had consistency from Clemson is they have been able to play strong caliber defense, and we felt like this could be one of their best defensive units in a while. So Cade definitely deserves some of the blame for what's going on right now, but he doesn't deserve all of it.
Real quickly, if you guys have both been through many pre-game, post-game media scrums, if you were allowed to be this post-game presser with Dabo Swinney, what would you guys ask Dabo?
How do you motivate a team when you're out? When's the last time you were actually in a position to not really be in the race? So last year, they were still in the playoff race because they had a chance and did end up winning the ACC. Now, with these 2 conference losses, the way the tiebreakers shake out, it's very difficult to see Clemson getting back in this conference championship race. And you have so many guys who are draft eligible. Dabo, how do you prevent Clemson from turning the page and thinking about the draft? How do you get these guys to show up every week when they really haven't shown up in the last 3 weeks after that LSU loss?
No, I think that's such a great way of putting it. And another thing that I'd kind of bring up specifically on the football side of things is where do you think that you can find some success at the point of attack? Where can you find a running game? Where can you continue to present problems for teams on the defensive line? It just hasn't happened to this point. And again, you can't really point to personnel being the primary issue. So if you're Clemson, how do you try to rebuild that advantage in the middle of a season?
So Dabo Swinney and Clemson find themselves at a very unflattering list. We've got a graphic here of who they're joining in terms of trailing by 7 or more points every game against power conference teams. We know the turnover that we've already seen in Blacksburg and Westwood. But I'm going to give it back to you guys again because Dabo, again, spoke for nearly an hour during his press conference media availability this week. You guys did a breakdown on the Cover 3 podcast. I mean, what do we anticipate this week's press conference and media availability is going to be like?
I think you have to start asking bigger questions about the program. Dabo, is Garrett Riley the right guy to lead the offense here? Dabo is your strength and conditioning program, given that y'all look pretty soft, especially on offense. Like, is that in good shape right now? Is your offensive line coach the right guy? Like, they should be more physical or more detail-oriented. Like, you can't be sloppy and soft, and that's kind of what they look like right now.
Yeah, I think that definitely. I mean, it's one thing to be defensive when your goals are in front of you. Yeah. It's another thing to be defensive once they're gone. And at this point, this Clemson team really doesn't have a pathway to making it to the ACC title game, really doesn't have a pathway to making it to the college football playoff. And so if you get up there and you're Dabo Swinney, you've won all the games in the world, you've won multiple titles, if you get up there and say, you guys should be happy with this, I think that that's betraying your fans to a certain extent. This is not something you can do when you are out of it, when you have a whole season ahead, when you're trying to get your fans to show up for multiple games for the rest of the year. You have to stand up and take accountability, and I'm curious if Dabo Swinney does that.
He said a lot of things. He basically said, you want me gone? Do you think things are better on the other side? It was certainly interesting to hear those comments going into a game again, that they were favored by 17.5, and not only did they not cover, they lost upright. There was another thing that you guys talked about on the Cover 3 podcast, which is seemingly the pressure that's coming for Dabo's job actually seems to be much closer in the Clemson region than it is maybe nationally. And I use the comp here actually in the NFL. Mike Tomlin with the Steelers, always good, never losing seasons, but actually people in the Pittsburgh area are actually more pressing of him being gone than those in the national media, because like, oh, Mike Tomlin never loses. He gets to the playoffs, but they never get to the Super Bowl or win the Super Bowl. Is that a thing that fans should worry about, of what's happening closer to campus than it is nationally?
I think it's interesting because Dabo was slow to embrace several elements of the changing landscape that we see in college football. They were a little bit slow to embrace NIL. They were certainly quite slow to embrace the portal, and I think now that's probably a worry. Like, if this is a true rebuild, there's got to be some concern. Like, is Dabo actually going to do what it takes to flip a team in just 1 year? I don't know that they have the internal talent on that team to go and be where they want to be next year. So I think that's part of the reason why all the concerns. It's some of those comments like just time and place, man.
Shehan, let me ask you a different question as we wrap things up then. If there ends up being a split between Dabo and Clemson, which side would be in a better position if that were to happen?
Well, do you like having $60 million? Because that's what Dabo Swinney would be walking out of Clemson University with. But here's the reality of the situation. If you decide to spend that money in your Clemson and you decide to buy him out, you got to know that you can get better. And that is going to be the most existential part of this. Because here's the reality, right? You are Clemson. You're still in the ACC. There's still a lot of kind of turmoil around your conference and your situation. You are a rich program. You're not one of the richest programs in the country. Like, I understand kind of the rock and hard place that Clemson finds itself right now. Because, yeah, you feel like you want to be able to improve. You feel like you want to be able to expect more than a 1-3 start. You also have to be able to pay all that money out and be able to get it. So I think that Dabo, he knows. Like, he has nothing to prove. He's a Hall of Fame coach. He's one of the greatest to ever do it. I don't think that he should have any worries about what happens next. For Clemson, it's not that simple.
It'll be interesting to see what happens on campus and beyond. Bud, Shehan, guys, certainly appreciate it. This will be talked about once again on the Cover 3 podcast with Bud, Tom Fornelli, Danny Cannell, and Chip Patterson. Make sure to scan the QR code however you listen to your podcast, and also make sure to check them out on YouTube.